But when it comes to gain or income, we will use a double standard. It's like a double standard in the financial statements, that losses or expenses you will recognize the moment it becomes probable, but for revenues or gains, you do not recognize them until you are reasonably certain that they will happen. Now, how certain is reasonably certain? That's once again managerial discretion. That part we will discuss, or maybe we will not. But the point is that when we prepare financial statement, we apply sort of a double standard to our losses and expenses versus revenues and gains. What is that double standard? Double standard is that we are extra strict or a little bit of pessimist. That if you think something can go wrong, then provide it for it immediately. If you think something can be beneficial to you, wait until you actually are reasonably certain that it will happen. That's what this concept says. Let me create some examples of what I'm trying to tell you here. Easiest example is that of some legal suit. Let's say these are accounting period. Let's say this is end of year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Let's say in this period somebody filed a case on you, okay, and the final verdict of the case you will get to know in year 4. So for argument's sake, let us assume that this is the structure of judiciary in the country. Let's say first the case will go to the lower court, the session court, then it will go to the high court, and then finally it will go to Supreme Court, and this entire procedure will take, let's say, 4 years. Typically for most of the cases it takes longer. For argument's sake, let's go ahead. What we are saying about conservatism here is that if suppose somebody has filed a case on you, let's say the claim they have filed for is 5 lakh rupees, or rather they have filed for whatever you think that you will end up making a compensation of 5 lakh if the judgment goes against you. Then what conservatism says is that in year 1 itself, among other expenses, let's say this is your income statement and you are providing different expenses. One of the expenses in this year itself will be anticipated loss. And you will say in this year itself, you will subtract 5 lakh rupees from your incomes. Ye samajh aaya? What does it say? It says that you will not wait for actually the loss to happen. Maybe you will get to know in year 2 or year 3 or year 4. You don't need to, you should not wait until that year. If you think that you have a reason to believe that something may go wrong, provide for it immediately. Now, it doesn't mean to say that start imagining things, all sort of things, and provide the what if tomorrow earthquake hits? What if day after tomorrow a fire occurs? What if a day after that some riot breaks in and I keep losing? And then all of the entire lifetime of the business you will keep on showing losses. That's not what it means. It means that if something has become probable, that means you have some reasons to believe that it will happen to you. Then provide for it without waiting for it to actually happen. Yeah, Ronika, go ahead.
So I just had a question, not sure if it's relevant right now, but like suppose if like isn't this a contingency and aren't contingencies recorded as notes? Like I'm just not sure.
No, that's what I'm saying. That this will not be just a detail somewhere, footnote mentioned that somebody has filed a case on me. You will need to make an estimation that because of this suit, before that, I will just let me make sure. Everybody heard the point that Ronika is saying? She's mentioning or she's saying that would you not just mention it as a footnote somewhere? So what I'm saying is that maybe, but that will depend upon what do you estimate that has the expense become probable. For example, let's say you think that this is just a completely bogus suit. This one doesn't mean that the moment somebody files a case on you, you go on showing expenses. It only means that if you think that in some probability, if you think that they also have some argument and the court may go in their direction, if there is even a little bit of substance in their case, then whatever expense you think will go to is going to happen to you when the verdict comes, then that amount you provide then and there itself in the year of case, or when you got to know that now you may end up losing some money in future. Okay, so footnote or not, that depends upon the severity of the case. If you think it's just an extremely bogus case, no way you are going to lose it, no need to provide. But if you have any reasons to believe that it has become probable now. Now, probable means you understand the probability that it ranges from 0 to 1. Probable means anything either more than 0. Means somewhat probable. Of course, 0.00000005 is equivalent to 0. But you can apply your discretion as to what I'm saying. That is not the bottom line here. The bottom line here is that if you have reasons to believe that a loss may occur, you don't wait until the day of loss. You provide for it in the period in which you think that now the probability has arisen. That's what this concept says. Fine.
So do we account for the whole loss itself or like a part of loss? Like if
that will depend. That will depend. That's what I said when I mentioned this amount of 5 lakh rupees. This is your estimate of what you think you are going to pay. Now, if you estimate entire 5 lakh rupees, do you show entire 5 in here or do you spread it across? If that is the question you are asking, then conservatism says that show the entire amount here itself. So for expenses, you don't spread it across. Why? Because the argument is that this is not a legal case for which year 2 is responsible or for which year 3 is responsible. Something in the year 1 itself is responsible, that somebody has filed a legal case against you. So show the entire amount here itself.
Sir, what if we win the case and no penalty has been imposed? So we go back in time and we change the records in the first year, or how do we do it?
Okay, that is why your section becomes the uncut version. So these are kind of probabilities. Some of them come into other sections, some of them may not, but the combined and some more definitely comes in this section. So you may feel a little bit good about yourself, but bad about the fact that then once again this time will extend a little bit. But let me tell you, everybody understood the question? Very interesting one. The question is, what if I thought I will be paying, but I ended up not paying it? What do I do? So let me tell you. Before that, let me give the arguments parts first. Then I will tell you the treatment part. So the question is more of a treatment. So let us completely understand the argument and then we'll go to the treatment. Let me see. Am I good to go? Yeah. So argument wise, it is clear that what does conservatism say? Let's go to the flip side. The flip side is that, let's say you filed a case on somebody. Let's say you are all Music Mart and Music Mart filed a case on somebody else. Now for this, let's say the case claim is 60,000. For this, we will not recognize this 60,000 now. Let's say these are the 3 levels of the escalations. Then maybe when the Supreme Court judgment has come, then I will show it as an income or gain. Let's say that happens in year 3. So in year 3, until year 3, I will wait. I will not show it in year 1, in year 2, definitely not, in year 3. Yes. So you see that this type of a double standard treatment in expense versus revenue, that is brought about because of the conservatism concept. Notice very carefully that the word also, the other word for this that is used is the word prudence. They are saying that a healthy pessimism is okay for the business. When you report something, what it will drive? It will drive is that everybody understands a lot of discretion goes into when you show the numbers. So once you show the numbers, let's say you say that 60,000 is my profit for the period, then people will assign certain degree of confidence to this number. If you have created being a pessimist, then they will say that the profit potential for this company that they generated in this year is either 60,000 or more versus 60,000 or more or less. So this new interpretation of the number that it is either 60,000 or more is brought about because of the conservatism concept, so that the degree of confidence with the users of financial statement increases. That is the relevance of this conservatism concept. Okay, समझ आया? Yeah, him, go ahead.
How does this get actually recorded in the statement? Like, do we remove it from the retained earnings?
Statement representation wala part abhi aa raha. I'll just same question you are asking in a different manner or maybe in a detailed sentence. Yeah, Rishabh, go ahead. Conceptually, any questions?
Sir, I just ask you to repeat that last bit that you spoke about.
So last bit I said that Why are you doing it? You are doing so that you will instill more confidence in the users of financial statement once you are preparing it in a conservative manner. So now if you show a profit figure, then they will say definitely this much profit is the company's profit and maybe something more. Okay, but why? Because you were really pessimistic when you were recording the numbers. Okay, now let's come to the representation part, or how do you record it? I'll show it in the accounting equation because that's all the recording we know for now. It will turn out that this is not actually how you record the transactions. Maybe the formal method will start in the next class. But for now, we have accounting equation. So let's say that you have cash, you have account receivable, you have inventory and certain other assets. And in the liability side, you have capital and you have retained earning and you have loan and something else. Now, on the day you are going to recognize this as an expense, this needs to have two legs to the transaction because of our dual aspect. But one aspect of the transaction, I think, or I would expect the entire class can guess. One of the things, what can I do when I'm recognizing this as an expense, that 5 lakh of expense has happened?
Reduce cash.
Reduce cash. You are paying cash to somebody. यही सब करो और हार्ट अटैक दे दो मुझे.
Liability.
Are we paying cash to anybody?
Retained earnings.
Retained earnings.
To reduce retained earning. This is what is the meaning of the phrase that we are showing an expense. So
So
all
I
the
think
income happen in this column. So the moment I reduce 5 lakh, that means that I am showing an expense in the retained earnings. I will not do this because I'm not paying 5 lakh to anybody. Right now, as of today in year 1, did I pay anybody 5 lakh rupees? No. Am I supposed to pay to anybody? Not right now. Maybe in year 4. That we will discuss when year 4 comes, right? So in year 1, at least one side of the transaction should be unanimous that this is what we will do in year 1. Everybody with me up till here? Sumant, with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Now, what should be the flip side? Instead of me telling, can you guys just try to make an attempt that what should I do?
Create a new liability called provision and put 5 lakhs in it, sir.
Okay, create a new liability called provision. Why? Because you say so. Okay, fine. That is one treatment. Any other treatment?
So not 5 lakhs, just add 5 lakhs.
Any other treatment? Yeah, Tanya, go ahead.
Sir, account payable or
Accounts payable. Okay, so another liability, but the name will be accounts payable. Okay. Add 5 lakh. Okay. Any other opinion? I'll just use another color so that I can recognize them as different versions. Okay. These are the versions. Any other version? That's all. Just try to think, is there any other possibility? See, there is a negative of 500 this side. Now you need to make the equation balance. So the two options available to you is either you subtract 500 somewhere in some heading in this side, or you add 500 here somewhere. These are the only two options, right? Let us discuss this one. Can I subtract any asset because of this?
No.
No, sir.
No, because I'm not paying anybody anything. Neither I'm paying cash, nor my account receivable is reducing, nor my inventory will go away, nor my machine or any other furniture or whatever. You see that this is an imaginary expense, or rather an anticipated expense. So because of this anticipated expense, none of my assets have gotten hit. That is why this option is out. Everybody with me up till here? What am I doing? I had shown a 500 ka expense here. Now I want to find out that what should be the counter side. Dual aspect concept said what? That every transaction will have two sides. One side we have written, and now we are looking for the place where we can write the other side. So far what I have explained is that this side is out of question. We are not giving any asset, so that is why no point in reducing any asset. Now the only option left is that write something in liability and add 500 to it. Fortunately for me, two people have given me two alternative names. Now, other people, if you, I leave the class for about half a second, half a minute or so, maybe you will come up with more such options that write a new liability under this name, but only name will change. The fact remains that this equation can only be balanced if I add 500 in the liability side somewhere. With me so far? Now, let us say, what if I add it in this manner? Let's say, what do I mean when I add accounts payable of 500? What does it mean? Addition of accounts payable of 500 would mean that I have bought inventory from somebody and I have not paid them yet. That's what it would mean. Is that what is happening here? No, that's not what is happening here. Could I have created a new liability called, or could I have subtracted from capital? No, owner's claim is already hit because of, or rather, could I have added 500 to the capital? No, owners are not infusing cash. Any addition in capital would mean what? Owners are providing either cash or some resource to the business. That's not what is happening. Retained earning, anyway, we have given a negative. So it will mean really ridiculous to add something. What we would do is that we will create something in the liability side, and the name we will use is provision. So in a balance sheet, whenever you see the word provision mentioned, this is a very specific word. This means that this represents the counter side of those expenses which have not occurred yet. Means not just that you have not paid it. For example, let's say salary, you have not paid it. What you would do for it? Let's say this same organization has 1 lakh of salary expense done but not yet paid. Let's say this is the accounting period. In this period, let's say employees have worked and now you need to pay 1 lakh of salary, but you haven't paid for it. Can you tell me that what should be the treatment of this transaction in accounting equation?
So just call it salary outstanding or something.
We will call it salary outstanding in the liability side, and add 100, and retained earnings subtract 100. This 100 records the fact that you have consumed the resources, it has become an expense, and this positive 100 represents the fact that you are supposed to pay. Now I want to contrast this outstanding with this provision. That is why I just took this example. This one has a very specific nature. There is a party to whom you are legally supposed to make payment. I mean, you owe to this party. But similarly, if you go to all the other liabilities, capital means what? You owe to this guy. Retained earning means what? You owe to this guy. Loan means what? You owe to these fellows. Accounts payable, you owe to all your suppliers. Contrast these to provision, you don't owe anybody specifically right now. So in strictest sense, it is not actually a liability. It's just a liability which you think will arise in future. Okay. So whenever you see the word provision, it should come to your mind that we are not dealing with regular liability anymore. It's not like any liability that we need to make good right now. Okay. So let me just hold on. Let me show you that I'm not making this all up. This is not a figment of my imagination. So let me show you Tata Motors income statement and balance sheet. You see all the liabilities mentioned here. Within the liability side, you will see that all the businesses will use the word provision. So in fact, Tata Motors has broken them into 2 subparts. Now, what is the component part of these? The component part of these is that Tata Motors, because of different reasons, would think that they may need to incur certain expenditure in future or losses in future. So they have provided for it right away, and this figure, these 2 figures represent a subtotal of all of these contingencies. So provision is what? Provision is more like a contingency that you have kept a cushion for a particular purpose. It is not a straightforward outright liability towards somebody. It may become a liability or it may not become a liability. On the day you are creating, you are not sure. So if you are not sure about the expense, create it. If you are not sure about the revenue, don't create it. That's what conservatism says. Okay, question. Go ahead, Rishabh. This part I am coming
So,
to, just FYI, in this part I am coming to that what we will do actually on the day of the payment, we come to know that this was the payment or something else was the payment. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
so the will I be incorrect in saying that the provision is a sort of fictitious liability, sir?
Fictitious liability, I would be a little bit hesitant in using this term because there is a formal word called fictitious asset.
I was going to ask you about that.
And fictitious liability. Okay, similarly. So there is a very specific definition to what we call fictitious asset or liability. So you can just Google it out. It's more like it's not liability in the strictest sense. Whether it falls into the definition of fictitious asset or liability or not, that he can discuss later. Because this one is a very specific word, that's why I'm not using it right. Okay. Fictitious asset, just for the completeness sake for rest of the class. Now you guys are all matured enough to take this bullet on your head. Another jargon, that's what I meant. Fictitious asset is that something will be appearing in the asset side, but it's not an asset. Okay. So what are the examples of fictitious asset? Just Google it out. So it will clear the things up for you. So what he is asking is that can we call these as fictitious liability? I am really hesitant to call this because the word fictitious has a specific meaning. Once something has a specific meaning, I cannot use it like a regular dictionary term. Okay, that's why I said that I used some other words, that it is not a liability in the strictest sense. Okay. Now let's come to completing the story. What if we actually got to know that on the date of payment, what payment we actually were supposed to do? Okay, so there are only two possibilities here, or rather three possibilities. Let's see all three of them. One possibility is that you thought, so now I'm talking to year 4. So let me change some color for year 4. So this teal color is, we are talking about year 4. So in year 4, you will get to know either you ended up paying exactly 5 lakh, or you ended up paying 5 lakh plus more than 5 lakh, or you ended up paying anything less. So less can be 0 also. So whatever we do for 0, for any number in between, same thing will happen. So let me say that there are these three cases. Either you ended up paying 6 lakh, or you ended up paying 3 lakhs, or you ended up paying 5 lakh. Case 1, case A, case B, and case C. Let us discuss all of these. These are the only three possibilities that I can think of. Anybody who can think of some other possibility, don't tell it to me right now. Contact me after the class. Okay. Let's do the easiest one first. What if we thought we will need to pay 5 lakh and we actually ended up paying 5 lakh? What would happen then?
Cash would go down and provision will be minus.
Cash will go down. Very simple, very straightforward. Because on this day you would actually be supposed to pay 5 lakh cash. So now I can reduce asset. And who said that? I sorry, I missed. Somebody just now gave the response, right?
Shovik.
Shovik is exactly right. So we will reduce the cash. I'll zoom out a bit so that you can see both the sides. You will reduce the cash, and also this provision is consumed. The purpose for which this provision was created has arisen. So now you will reduce the provision to 0, that it is not needed any longer. That is what you will do on the date of payment. Okay, everybody with me up till here? Now, as a corollary, I think most of you can guess that what if the payment was anything higher or lower? What happens then? Let me change the numbers now. Let us go to case A first. What if the payment actually ends up being 6 lakhs? So, of course, this part everybody will agree that now my payment needs to happen at 6 lakh. Cash will go down 6 lakhs. When it comes to reducing the provision or the cushion, you only have 500 left in it. So you can only reduce it by 500. There is no such thing as you have created a cushion and cushion itself is negative. It doesn't mean it's absurd. So now you see that 1 lakh of extra expense has happened. That is what you will transfer additionally in this year to the retained earnings. So additionally in this year, you will show another expense of 1 lakh rupees. So of the total 600 payment, 500 came from your cushion called provision, and 100 became this year's expense. ठीक है, समझ आया? Can you think of corollary, this last case? What should happen?
100 will be added.
This
The 2 lakh will be added in retail.
Yeah. So let's just for completeness sake, let me write case 3. So cash went out only 3 lakh rupees. Provision in this situation also, you don't need this provision any longer. So you will subtract 500. That is 5 lakh rupees. And now you see that asset went down only by 300, but provision needed to go down by 500. Means what? You have made a gain this year of 2 lakh rupees. So in a retained earning, you will add 2 lakh rupees. ठीक है, समझ आया? This part is representing कि आपको gain हो गया. You had already subtracted an expense of 5 lakh. That was in year 1. In year 1, you had already subtracted 5 lakh. But actually, when the time came, you saw that you were actually only needed to pay 3 lakh. So in this year, you said कि 5 lakh हमने ज़्यादा subtract कर दिया था. So you will write back the 2 lakh rupees as a gain on this.
Sir, one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, we are writing the provision of 5 lakh rupees in year 1, and we are adjusting this amount in the last year. So for second year, third year, and fourth year, isn't our balance sheet remaining unbalanced, right?
No. The balance sheet will always remain. So on the day of treatment, I added or subtracted 500 both sides, right? So when I was creating the provision, this is what I did. In my retained earnings, I subtracted 500, and in provision in the liability side, I added 500. Now here it is balancing. Left hand side and right hand side will balance. Now in next year, you don't need to do anything. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else?
So that 2 lakhs of profit or 1 lakh loss. What do you write? What is the entry name? What do you write?
You can, so see, unless if there is a specific term, I will give it to you. For example, provision, the word provision is a specific term, I gave it. Now the question Mohammed is asking is that what do you call? Feel अपनी श्रद्धा से कुछ भी लिख दो. Feel free to create your own name. Why I am saying so? Simply because this one doesn't have a standard jargon. So in some company, you will see the same thing happening with some other heading, and another company, you will see some other heading. So you might as well create your own heading, right? So you may call it that gain because of additional or less payment than anticipated. How does it matter? Whatever sounds intuitive to you, okay? Or reversal of provision. You can call it reversal of provision also. Whatever name you want to give, that is not important. The thing is that you are recognizing the gain, and this gain represents the fact that you had created more provision than needed, and now you are recognizing the gain because of the reversal. Okay, so name is not important here. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, in that provision thing, so if you can go up.
Yeah,
so you have written your minus 5 lakh, right? So why can't you do that, like you just minus the 3 lakh and just keep the 2 lakh over there?
Okay, perfect. A very interesting question Ram Prasad is asking. Everybody heard the question? Why don't you leave it unchanged? Is there any compulsion for you to bring it to 0? Is the question that is asking. Okay. So let me see if I. Okay. To explain this, I will tell you some further story. In answering Ram Prasad's question, I will take one more flip side of the same concept, or you can sometimes this concept is also given some other name called realization concept. If you want, you can write it separately, otherwise you don't need to. If you have understood conservatism properly, then realization is inherently inbuilt in that. You don't need to study it separately. So basically what I'm going to do is, I'm going to, right now I talked about expense. Now I'll talk about revenues. And then I will try to superimpose my restriction that is coming because of conservatism. What does conservatism say? For expenses, provide it right away, and for gains, wait. Okay. Let us say there is a company, okay, in year 1 and year 2. This is what the business they did. They buy something, let's say ballpoint pen. They buy ballpoint pens at 3 rupees and they sell it at 5 rupees. That's all the business is. Just very simplistic business. Okay. In the first year, let's say they sold total 50 crore worth of ballpoint pens. Means sales was 50 crores. So this was the sales. And their expenses of inventory. So expense of inventory has once again a specific name. So I will use it. Use this name. We will use this name itself now. Now this point onward. This name is called cost of goods sold. Cost. I will write the short form here. COGS. Here I will write full form. Cost of goods sold. Okay. This basically represents the expense that is coming because of inventory consumed. So instead of writing expense because of inventory consumed, this one is a standard term. So this you will write as it is. So let's say in this particular company, this is how the income statement was. So sale of 50 lakhs and minus COGS of 30 lakhs, and then you had a profit of 20 lakhs. Okay. I don't know whether earlier I used the number crores. तुरंत से औकात पे आ जाता हूँ. That's why teachers can in a teaching profession you can only talk about in lakhs. You cannot afford to talk about in crores.
So just could you repeat the thing that 50 lakhs?
ये joke था. Okay, go ahead.
No, so just could you repeat first year में 50 lakhs का क्या हुआ?
Okay, this is what I'm right now I'm repeating. So this itself is repeat. Let us assume that in year 1 this company made a sale of total 50 lakhs and of that expenses were 30 lakhs. Means 30 lakh का ball pen खरीदा और 50 lakh पे बेच दिया. That's all that has happened in this business. So this is how the income statement will look. Fine. Now I will impose on this some additional detail. Let me impose some additional detail. Blue pen. Okay, here it is. Let us assume that of this sale, only 10 lakh is in cash and remaining 40 lakh is on credit. Now, what did I just now introduce is, I introduced a possibility that not all of it is maybe certain. Some of it might be doubtful, whether you will get it or not. What is credit sale? Credit sale means you have sold the goods, you have given them the voucher, you have prepared the sales receipt and everything. Only part is that money has not come yet. Does this kind of transaction happen in real life? That you have made the sale but you have not received the money? Yes. All your EMI system is this only. In fact, most of the B2B sale happen on credit basis, that you make the sale and you don't get the money immediately. Maybe there are 6 months, 1 year, whatever term is given. Now the question I'm going to raise is that, can you in real life say for certain, can you be reasonably certain that you will get this money? Very less likely. अपने दोस्त को भी पैसे देते हैं, then that itself becomes doubtful. Sometimes that becomes more doubtful than if you give it to somebody else. But did you understand the point? That there is a degree of uncertainty as far as these 40 lakhs are concerned. Now, the conservatism says that you cannot straight away go about showing everybody this income statement. This income statement has a flaw. What is the flaw? That all of this 50 lakh is not certain. समझ में आया? But how do we deal with it? That part is still there. But did you understand the issue that I'm raising here? Okay. Now, rather than me answering, can you guys think of some of the alternatives as to how we can deal with this issue?
So we can show that only we have 10 lakh and the cost was 30 lakh and then.
Okay. So this is what we can say. We can show 10 lakh ka sales expense kitna दिखाएंगे?
30
lakhs. 30. So business has suffered a loss. So loss of 20 lakhs. Okay, this is one opinion. So I'll keep that as, let's say, alternative A. I'm hoping some alternative B and C will.
Sir, we will also draw another column and write about the remaining 40.
Okay, let Ram Prasad complete. We will also draw what?
Say like you can make another provision or something and then write that in future we might get 40. The 40.
Okay, fine. Let me talk about it because you all understand accounting equation. Let me talk about in terms of accounting equation. Assets, liability. Let's say here is cash, inventory, and here is retained earnings so far. And let's say account receivable. Okay, so far only these things are getting affected. So on the day of sale, this is what has definitely happened. My inventory has fallen down by 30 lakhs. Okay, and what has happened to cash? Cash has gone up by 10 lakhs. Retained earning, what has happened? That depends. So what Ram Prasad is saying is that recognize only 10 lakhs. So suddenly you will show a negative of 20 lakh in retained earning. What does this constitute? This constitute a negative 30 lakh for the inventory consumed and a positive 10 lakh for the sale that you have actually received. Okay. That is one opinion. What else? Yeah, Bharat, go ahead. You have another alternative to suggest?
Sir, I have one question. Sir, this is the case where we use accounts receivable, right? So
yes, that's what. So what Ram Prasad has one opinion that don't show any account receivable. Show it as a loss when actually you get the money and that suddenly you show a profit. Let's say in next year you actually get the money, on that year you show the gain. Okay, that's what he is suggesting. Yeah, Bhumi, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. So the sales has happened in this year itself, right? So we will have to reflect it in the accounts receivable this year itself. So when the money does come in the next year, we can then adjust it in the cash and then reduce it from the accounts receivable.
Okay, fine. So you are saying that this is how we will prepare the income statement. So what she is mentioning is that we will simply ignore that anybody taught you conservatism concept. You will go about doing your business as usual. You will show that 40 lakh ka yahan pe account receivable aa gaya, and you will show sales of 50 lakh. So minus 30 and plus 50.
Then in the income statement, probably we'll have to specify that the 10 lakh was in cash and the 40 lakh was in credit.
So you will write a sentence, this 10 lakh was in cash and 40. So apni shraddha se laga do. That, what do you think? Are you confident?
Or we can have two different sales, right? We can have cash sales and credit sales.
Okay. And do what then? Let's say
so
I write
under cash sales we can show 10 lakhs and credit sales we can show 40 lakhs.
Okay, but both of these will increase owner's claim, right? Cash, be it cash sale or be it credit sale, both of them are revenue. So it's not actually addressing the problem that I'm trying to raise. So two extremes. In fact, this is the entire continuum. These are the two extremes. One extreme was that no conservatism at all. Let's call it positive infinity. That is what option Bhumi is suggesting. Another extreme is that what Ram Prasad is saying. Unless you actually get the money, completely ignore the fact, forget the fact that you have sold anything. In real life, what makes more sense? You will see that very fortunately this discussion has brought the outer boundaries of the discussion. That these are the two outer boundaries. The actual treatment can either be this or somewhere in between. Let's see if there is another opinion. Jitendra, go ahead.
So basically, so the doubtful payment part we can kind of.
Sorry, Jitendra, I'll just pause you for a little bit. I just want to take the rest of the class. Are you guys understanding the debate that is going on right now? So what are we doing? We are trying to account for the fact that not all the sale you have actually received. Some part you will get to know in next year that whether you actually received it or not. Maybe you will receive all of it. Maybe some people will default. Maybe everybody will default. I don't know. So the moment something is on credit, there is a possibility of default. Now we are trying to address this possibility in view of conservatism concept. Yeah, go ahead, Jitendra.
So basically, like if some creditor is like very doubtful, we can make a separate provision for that and reduce the. retained earnings.
Okay, so Apu, if anybody has a surname of Malia, is that what you are saying? Just because one
Yeah.
Malia defaulted? He's saying that for some people I will create a provision. My counter question is, I hope nobody has a surname of Malia. I'm so this is also getting recorded. Case में डाल देगा. The only point was that how do you decide? If
So,
you, let's say, if you already know that this guy may pay or may not pay, you would not
so on
even
the
bother
basis of
saying this guy, right?
past experience of the business.
Okay, past experience.
Sir, it depends upon the company, on what values they hold. Are they a conservative company, or are they a company which believes that people are good? So,
Okay, perfect.
depending
So
upon that.
I'll take both of these points one by one. Just hold on, Rishabh. Somehow I only end up.
Credit score of the buyer.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that past experience, credit score, and now I forgot what was the point Jyotika was mentioning. What were you saying?
Sir, I was mentioning that it depends upon what the company
Okay,
values are. As
see, okay, fine. Before I forget it again, past experience similar to the point which Jitendra has already mentioned. My response to that is, अगर आपको पहले ही से पता है कि यार बहुत शक है कि इसको पैसे देंगे लौटाएगा कि नहीं, would you bother selling to those kind of people? Highly likely not. So I really doubt that this is going to solve your problems. Maybe it will solve a part of your problem, that if you know that these people, I have already sold to this guy and this person has started defaulting to somebody else. At least in that part, this concept will save you. That for those people, if you sold it to those people, provide an expense right away. But not in general. Remember the point where I started this discussion. Let's say you have sold it to your best friend. Okay, no, best friends default most often. Let's say you have sold it to your professors. Professors don't default in general. That's what I have seen. And you really trust the professor. Okay. Even then, unless the money actually comes to you, you are not 100%, you cannot be 100% certain, or rather whatever is the reasonable certainty, there still be some doubt. Let's say you have sold goods on credit to 20 professors. Maybe all of them, when you were selling, you had really good faith in them, but when it came to payment, 2 or 3 of them defaulted. What I'm saying is that just try to imagine real life scenario, that when you are running a business, what sort of scenarios you will be exposed to. So the options you two are suggesting, Jitendra and Rishabh, it may help, but only partially and only in specific case. This cannot be a solution to our issue. Now coming to the point that Jyotika was mentioning, that it depends upon how conservative or liberal the company is. The point I'm trying to make here is that it does not even depend upon what is the nature of company. I'm saying irrespective. Did I discuss that? What should be the nature of the company, or what should be the qualities of owners, or what should be the industry, so that you can apply the conservatism concept?
No, sir.
Irrespective of what sort of company you are, always everybody has to apply conservatism. So this also doesn't help. Now, as somebody mentioned, now I forgot, credits are here. I forgot who told that you may decide something based on past experience. Now that is a route which is in between these extremes. So what you can say, showing this income statement would be incorrect. This income statement would be incorrect. This is one extreme. Showing this income statement also may be incorrect, because this is another extreme. Most of the time what we end up doing is we end up taking a route in between. Okay, I will tell you that, but before that, let me take 2 points here. Yeah, Mohammed, go ahead.
So I was suggesting another route, that you add in account receivables, but instead of in retained earnings, you add that 40,000 in expected earnings. Like you add another ledger for provision, you add
Okay, so what he's saying is that create a new heading called expected earning. Don't call it earnings so far. Okay, that is a good enough thing, but where that expected earning will go ultimately? Do you tell that you have made a gain or not? My problem was that if you tell, then you are running into a problem. If you don't tell, then also you are running into a problem. You see, what sort of problem? If you are discussing about the performance of a company, there are 2 performances. performance under method A and method B. In one situation, you have said sales of 50 lakhs, cost of goods sold of 30 lakhs, and profit of 20. In another situation, you are saying sales of 10 lakh, cost of goods sold of 30 lakhs, and a loss of 20. Same business, unfortunately. Depending upon how good the accountant was feeling, it will determine whether the top management is retained or fired by the shareholders. Do you see that this stark of a performance comparison is there just because of a difference of an opinion? ये समझ में आ रहा है कि हो क्या रहा है यहाँ पे? That this is a very crucial difference. भावना समझ में आ रहा है? Lost interest. Okay. Now, what do we do? Most of the situation, for most of the businesses, we end up taking a route in between. As somebody was mentioning that we will take some past experience. What we do is that, okay, we are not sure that whether we will get 40 or not. But the idea behind what Rishabh and Jitendra were telling, that idea itself is implemented, but in a slightly different manner. I will use my past experience and I will make an estimate that on a percentage basis, on an average, if I sell 100 rupees on credit, what gets defaulted and what comes back to me. So who actually does the default is not my concern anymore any longer that more. So what I will do is I will make an estimate. Maybe this estimate itself needs to be a conservative estimate. But I will make an estimate that if I sell 100 rupees, in general, let's say 20% gets defaulted and 80% comes back to me for sure. So in that situation, what you will do is that in this year itself, 20%, you will break it into 20% and 80%. And you will say that 20% of it has become my default expense because of default. There is a specific name, once again, a new jargon coming your way. There is a specific name which we call when somebody defaults. That expense is called bad debts. Bad debts means to these guys you had sold goods on credit, but they did not pay back. That's what bad debt represents, and it is an expense. So in this year, what I will do is, this is the version I will follow. Let's say, let me call it version midway. I will show the sale of 50, I will show the cost of goods sold of minus 30, and excuse me, just on anticipation basis, I will show a imaginary expense. I was about to use the word fictitious. I stopped myself once again because it has a specific meaning. I will show an imaginary or anticipatory expense. Expense in anticipation of कितना होता है 20% 40 lakhs का 8 lakhs. And I would say that this year I neither earned a loss of 20 lakhs nor a profit of 20 lakhs. In fact, I have had a profit of whatever 12 lakhs. Okay, this is what happens in most businesses. Why? Because in most businesses the anticipation is somewhere that if you apply percentages, you can talk about the reasonable certainty. That about 80% I am reasonable certain, about 20% I don't know. So in this year itself, show this 20% as an expense. Now another thing you could have done is reduce sale itself, but then things would have been a little bit more complicated. ये समझ में आया? The last sentence I made. What am I talking about? What you could have done also is that sale itself you reduce by 8 lakh. That you show only 42 lakh rupees ka sale. This in general we don't do. Why? Because sale is a number. Sales is a number which is used for many decision making purposes. If you just show the net figure, it will not give you correct picture of the business. So the ideal way of representing it, that show the expense, show the total sales, and then in expenses write anticipated expense for bad debts. Sometimes it is also called creation of provision for bad debts. Creation or transfer, the word is also used, transfer transfer of provision for bad debts. So remember once again, notice once again the word that has come here is provision. That is the key here. That why are we showing this expense? Because we are creating a provision. इसको accounting equation में कैसे show करेंगे? Let me show that and then I will take questions. So this is how we will show this entire drama in accounting equation. So assets, liability, let's say cash, account receivable and inventory, and retained earnings, and provision for bad debts. Sometimes it is also called doubtful debts. So on the date of sale, what you would do? 30,000 का inventory चला गया, अब thousands में आ गया. See, 30 lakhs का inventory चला गया, so you will show an expense of 30 lakhs. What did you get in return? You got 10 lakh ka sale in cash. Oh, sorry. Inventory here, account receivable here. Okay, 10 lakh ka cash is coming into the business. So this positive 10 lakh needs to be added. And remaining 40 lakh has become your account receivable. So far, we have completely ignored conservatism concept. So the treatment up to this point is as if there is no conservatism concept. Now on top of all of this, sales hota to यही treatment करते and 10 more lakhs here. So total 50 lakh ka sale. If you want, you can add these two up. 50 lakh ka sale. So this represents expense, this represents sale, this represents now you have account receivable, this represents you got 10 lakh of cash, this represents 30 lakh of inventory is gone. On top of this, you will make one more entry of an anticipated expense, that is of creation of a provision, expense because of creation of provision, and because it is an expense, you will subtract 8 lakh here and you will add 8 lakhs here. Fine. So you see that this one treatment wise is not much different from the previous one that we did discuss just a little while ago. That whatever is the amount that you are providing in anticipation, one leg of the transaction is that you are showing it as an expense, and one leg of the transaction is you are creating a provision for that.
So one question.
Yeah.
So in the title, will it just be still provision, or will it be a new title like provision for bad debts?
You can decide. If there is just one item, you can just write provision. If there are 2-3 items, keep the bifurcation going. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Now let us come to the question for which I did all this drama. That was the question which Ram Prasad asked in ancient times. That what if? Did you ask Ram Prasad that what if the on the day of we actually get to know what happens to the provision? Why don't you leave it as it is?
Yes, sir, I did ask.
Okay, so let's see. Let's say this is the accounting period, that in year 1 you had done the credit sale, and in year 2 you will get to know either way that whether you got the money or the default happened. That the decision is arrived at. Fine. Then what do you do? So let me create all the different type of scenarios. It so turns out that a lot of different type of scenarios can happen. Let me take the simpler ones first. The simplest one would be that you thought, so here your credit sale was 50 lakhs. Sorry, total sale was 50 lakhs. Of that, credit sale is 40. We are discussing about this 40. Okay, not sure. Now, what can happen? You thought you will lose 8 lakh and that exactly happened. That is scenario number 1. Let's call it scenario A. Scenario A means that you got 32 back and you lost 8. Scenario 2 is that you thought you will be losing only 8, but you ended up losing more. So you got only 30 and you ended up losing 10. That is scenario number 2. ये समझ में आ रहा है? This part is cash and this part is loss due to default or bad debts, and now I can call it bad debts, actual bad debts. And third scenario, that you thought only 8 lakh will be the loss, but actual loss was even lesser. Let's say only 3 lakh was lost and everything else was received. So you received how much? 37 back. Okay, let's discuss these cases A, B, and C, and then I will address the question for which I was doing this. So case A, B, and C, it should be clear. What should I do? Let's see case A first. So reduce the provision by 8 lakhs.
So same treatment as previous provision.
Yes, same treatment. Okay.
Same treatment as the previous one.
So let me show it for the completeness, and only then I can relate it to the next one. So let's say this is the case. So I subtracted 8 lakhs here, and then what do? Let's say I will get 32 here, and I will reduce 40 here. Okay, so you see this positive 30 and this minus 40, the difference is negative 8, and this side also negative 8. So both sides tally. ठीक है यहाँ तक. Situation number 2. Situation number 2 is you received 30 and lost 10. In this situation also, this can only get negative by 8 lakhs. This negative 8 lakh remains as it is. Here the cash changes to positive 30. Account receivable is completely gone. So the way that is happening to provision, similar thing will happen to account receivable. That in all these situations, because we know what happened to account receivable, in all the cases this will be reduced to 0. Why would we reduce to 0? Because either we know somebody paid or either we know it default happened. So in both the cases, account receivables are gone. Its breakup will determine that how much cash you got, and if there is any difference that is left, that will be new profit or loss. ये समझ में आया लास्ट वाला, or did I go too fast? सबको समझ में आ रहा है? Okay. In case you find I am going fast, then stop me. So you received 10, you did a negative of 40. So there is a negative 10, net negative 10 among these two items. I did only negative 8 with this item, so I need to do one extra negative in retained earning, 2 lakh. So equation is balanced. What does it mean? It means this year, in year 2, you have suffered additional loss of 2 lakh. Okay. Now comes the last situation which we were trying to aim at, wherein the entire provision did not get used up. Okay, so you thought 8 lakh will be the loss, but actual loss was only 3 lakh. So up till here, everybody with me, that I will subtract 3 here, I will subtract entire 40 here, and here positive 37. Okay. Now the question was asked that why do you need to reduce remaining 5 here and show it as a profit here? That was the question. ठीक है, समझ में आया इतना? This is what I had done in the previous case. Why I did this is that in case of sales, even in this year, you may end up making new credit sale. In year 2, let's say you sold once again 50 lakh of goods. Situation 1, everything was in cash. So situation 1 means that entire 50 received. Situation 2, let's say once again you sold of that 40 lakh on credit. Now, whether I write this off or not will depend upon do I need fresh provision in this year or not. In the previous example of lawsuit, it doesn't happen that every year somebody is suing us for 5 lakh. That is why I was straight away reducing it to 0. But in case of account receivables, it can happen that this year, after next year, then next year, then next year, every time you are selling something on credit. So what point Ram Prasad was telling may be appropriate in case there is any need for that provision. So for example, if in second year, let's say I would have done every sale if it was in cash, then there was no need of this provision anymore. Why? Because nothing is outstanding in the year 2. Sara ka Sara, not only you received or you got to know what happened of the previous money, In this year, there is no money is outstanding. ये समझ में आया? What am I assuming right now? That in year 2, if you sold entire sale on cash, तो कुछ credit पे है ही नहीं. There is nothing in credit. If there is nothing on credit in year 2, then no need to prepare a provision. If there is no need to prepare a provision, so in this scenario, you can bring it down to 0. So then this treatment will make sense. This -5 here and +5 here. But what if in this year, once again, you have sold something for which you need 8 lakh of provision? So this is what you will do. Let's say in this year also you did something for which you need 8 lakh of provision. So this is what you will do. I think by now you would have gotten it. That I already have a provision of a balance of 5 lakh left in this one. I need to bring this number up to 8 lakhs. So you will create fresh provision of 3 lakh. Okay, simple question, but very long, complicated answer. The long, complicated answer was that it depends whether you need this provision or not. If you do, find out that what is the value of provision you want now. It so turns out that in this example, once again, I wanted to at the value of 8 lakhs. So what do? You compare that I already have 5 lakh remaining in my balance of provision. I need creation of 3 lakhs extra. So I will create a new expense this year and subtract it from retained earnings. ठीक है? No wonder तुम लोगों का क्लास एक्सटेंड होता है. लेकिन समझ में आया? What are we talking about here? Okay, fine. I'll quickly go to the 2 of the topics that I wanted to say. One is that I gave this example in other sections also, so it makes sense to give it the same example here itself. So there is a rule called LCM rule. This LCM rule gets applied only on one specific asset called inventory. What does it say is, it says that when you are recording your balance sheet, you are writing, let's say, all the assets. When you write inventory, so for all the assets, we apply cost concept. So whatever was the cost, we keep on recording that value. Inventory is an exception. Inventory is an exception to the cost concept. In inventory, what do? Every time we are recording inventory, we write 2 things. We write cost and we write market price. Market price. This market price is what price you will get if you sell that inventory away. And whichever is the lower value, that is the value that goes in. That is the value that goes in here. Let me quickly create an example. Let's say you are a retailer of blank CDs. Okay, CDs पता है कुछ दिनों पहले ये relevant हुआ करते थे, अभी relevant हो गए. Let's say your business is buying blank CDs and selling it off. Let's say this is what you used to do. You were buying it at the rate of 5 per CD and you were selling it at the rate of 8 per CD. Let's say Moser Bear or क्या आता था. That is that kind of thing we are talking about. Let's say year 2005 has ended and on this day you are left with 100 such CDs which you had bought at 5 rupees each. So when you are recording this and as an inventory, on this date you will make an estimate that what do you think I will be able to sell this one for in the next year. Let's say my anticipation is that all of these CDs will be, because the technology has taken a hit, I will be selling it at 7 rupees in next year. So my cost is 500 and my market price is 700. Which of these is lower? Trick question. Which of these is lower?
$500.
Oh, good. Somebody is paying attention. 500. So you will say my inventory is only 500. But vice versa is not true. That if, ignore this vice versa. But if things happen vice versa, then you will reduce the value. For example, let's say in year 2006, once again, you are left with, let's say, 70 pieces of inventory, which you have bought it at 5 rupees each. Okay, so 350 is what you have spent. Now you think that technology has gone down so much that these 70 pieces, all these, I will only be able to sell at 4 rupees each. So when you are maintaining the balance sheet, when you are writing the word inventory, you will not write 350 any longer. You will not write cost. Why? Because your market price has fallen down. Whichever is the lower of the two, that is the value you will maintain of the inventory. So in this year, you will say only 280 worth of inventory is with you. So that is the rule of lower of cost of or market price. It is only applicable to the inventory. And what do? Every time we are maintaining the inventory, we do this check that has my market price fallen down even below the cost at which we are buying the inventory. If yes, then our inventory will be reflected at market price. And of course, if the difference, if any, it will become an expense or a loss, and retained earning will take a hit. Okay. Bottom line is that this rule is a direct fallout of the conservatism concept. So in this rule, we are not implementing anything but conservatism concept. Okay. Questions? Yeah, Rishabh, go ahead. Last,
just a small question. So can you just explain the last part once more? I just missed it. I had some network issues. Just the last part once more.
Last part. I just concluded this. Did you understand what does LCM do? That every time I want to record inventory, I will check, has my market price, the anticipated market price, fallen even below the cost? If yes, then show the inventory at that reduced value and not at the cost any longer. So every time you are writing inventory, you are checking that whether cost is lesser or market price is lesser. Whichever is lesser, that value will appear in the balance sheet. You will say this much worth of inventory is there with us.
Understood.
Okay. And the reason why you have this kind of a law or this kind of a norm, because you want to implement conservatism concept. That even before you sell these 70 CDs away, you are yet to sell them off. These CDs are still with you, but just in anticipation, you are reducing the value. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Questions? One more question.
So just was asking the benefit, like why exactly? How does the business benefit by doing this?
Business benefits by doing this because it shouldn't happen. See, if you have all the assets, rest of the assets are not held for the purpose of selling, but this is one asset which is held for the purpose of reselling. So you remember that the prerequisite of cost concept, prerequisite was going concern. Now, why was going concern a prerequisite of cost? Because the anticipation was that once you have paid something for a machinery, now it doesn't matter whether the price in the market is going up or down. Why? Because you are a going concern and you are going to consume this machinery. So once you are going to consume this machinery, then all that we are concerned about is the what you paid for the machine. That was the argument or the rationale behind the cost concept. But you see, if you apply the same thing on inventory, it doesn't gets applied exactly in the same manner. That you may end up selling this asset for a value higher or lesser. Now the concept is that we want to be pessimist, so we will only, if the selling price has even fallen down lower, then we will say that our value is only 280. Now what does it mean? That the moment somebody is mentioning inventory, then you can assign certain degree of confidence to this value. The degree of confidence is 280 में तो बिक ही जाएगा अगर कुछ उससे ज़्यादा मिला तो मिला. You will not be under this apprehension. Here, these guys are telling inventory worth of 300. I have no clue whether you will even get back your initial investment or not. Because technology has changed. So once you have this LCM rule, you know that they themselves have implemented this estimation, and this is the worst case scenario that they are talking. Okay, so that is the rationale of having this rule. In general, that is the rationale of having the entire conservatism concept, that it is going to instill a degree of confidence. It's like a bottom limit, lower limit, that if anything, things will be above from this point of reference. Yeah, go ahead, Vignesh.
So this is applicable only for inventory, isn't it? So you said I didn't get the reason why.
I didn't get. So are you asking that why this one is restricted only to inventory?
Yes.
Oh, I just now answered. So maybe fortunately I have a recording available, so you can just replay this back. I just now answered exactly the same question. The reason is inventory is held for the purpose of selling. That's why we are doing it. Jitendra, go ahead.
So we would have already included the inventory cost when we would have bought it, right? So right now we just subtract the difference, is it what we are doing?
Yes, exactly correct. जिनको ये समझ में आया, question और answer good, नहीं समझ में आया, not a problem. When you actually record it, तो समझ में आ जाएगा. Shobik, go ahead.
We just actually record this only at the end of the financial year, right?
End of the financial period, yes. Not year, financial period.
Accounting
period, yes.
Period,
yes.
In middle of.
Not in between, no. Yeah, not in between. Okay, fine. Any further question? So everybody heard the question Shobik was asking? That every moment you do not keep your life busy by finding out up kitna price hua, up kitna price hua. You do this only at the end of the accounting period. Finding what do this means? Finding that whether cost is lower or market price is lower. Why? Because only at the end of the accounting period you prepare balance sheet. Okay. So last concept quickly in 1 minute it will get over, or maybe 2 minutes. That is of consistency. Consistency is very simple one. I think one of the simplest ones to understand. So we have been talking about discretion day in and day out. Consistency means that let's say management had a discretion. So they could have adopted method A or treatment B versus treatment C. Let's say management decided to stick with method A, then period after period stick with method A. Don't jump. That in year 1 you are using method A, in year 2 you are jumping to method B, in year 3 we are jumping to method C, and so on and so forth. Don't do that. That's all consistency means. For example, you remember our Star Sports versus BCCI example. So in that I had said that let's say 25 crore is paid for a broadcasting right of 5 years. So one of the way in which we could allocate this money was equally. So 5 crore, 5 crore, 5 crore year after year. Another way was that I could have broken this in proportion of the matches. Let's say matches were in this proportion: 10 matches in first year, year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's say 10 matches in first year, 12 matches in second year, 17 matches in third year, 8 matches in fourth year, and let's say 13 matches in fifth year. So I could very well have broken this into this ratio. Now, needless to say that if I let us call this one as method A and this one as method B. Needless to say that under method A compared to method B, the numbers would be different. What reduction of the 25 crore you show? Now, consistency means that once you have chosen a method, then stick to it throughout the life. It doesn't mean that if you buy any asset, then that's what is the method you are going to adopt. It means that for this particular asset, if suppose you have adopted method B, then for this particular asset, stick to method B year after year. That's what consistency means. Can you see the relevance of this? Why would somebody need this? Only when you have a consistency, you can compare this year's number with previous year's number, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't know that this difference that is coming, let's say profit are earlier they were 25 crore rupees, now there are profit of 37 crore rupees. You wouldn't know that whether the performance has actually gone up or it is simply because earlier they were using some other estimates, now they are using some other estimates. Okay? Now, in another 1 minute, I'll just complete this. This consistency doesn't mean that there is a blanket ban. कि एक बार कोई method choose कर लिया तो फंस गए. It doesn't mean that. It means that the default treatment should be that consistently, if you have chosen a method, you should stick with it. That should be the default treatment. If you want to opt for an aberration, you need to fulfill certain conditions. These conditions can be, or rather certain additional disclosures. You need to give certain additional disclosures. What these disclosures can be, first of all, tell us, inform us that you have changed some of the discretion. For example, if you are switching from method A to method B, let us know. That should be the least amount of information. Next level of information, justify why did you change? Why do you think that it makes more sense earlier? We were going with A, but now B makes more sense. So give a justification. Third will be maybe provide what happened because of this. So maybe you give a comparative figure. So under method A, numbers would have looked like this, but under method B, the numbers are looking like this, and this is the difference. And apart from this, maybe they can also ask you to get an approval or permission of somebody, let's say auditor, an independent auditor, that show all these things to an independent auditor and get their permission that is it valid or not. Now the bottom line is two things. One is that consistency means that by default you stick with the same thing. If you want to switch, you can, but that will depend upon rules and regulation in country to country. Country to country, the rules and regulation can require one or more of these things for you to show or to do. They may simply require you to inform. They may simply require you to inform and give a justification, or they may require you to that inform, give a justification, take an approval, or maybe that do all of these, and maybe somewhere in notes or comments provide a comparison that how things would have looked in the previous method and how they are looking in this method. Fine. Whether they will actually ask all of these or none of these depends upon regulation of country to country. But conceptually, this is what it means to have a consistency concept. That's all. Any questions?